Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Automation Alley's virtual tech takeover this morning, hosted by Andonix. My name is Allison Trumbull. I am a relationship manager here at Automation Alley. We are a World Economic Forum, advanced manufacturing hub, and an Industry 4.0 knowledge center. For those of you that don't know, we host a plethora of events and obtain knowledge from every aspect of Industry 4.0 to give businesses a competitive advantage and help them along every step of their digital transformation journey. Be sure to check out our upcoming events on our website. So as you can tell, this is obviously a virtual tech takeover, but we do have a few upcoming events that will be in person. So a couple dates to be aware of. We have June 15th, Stratasys is coming with their mobile showroom. Join us for a free lunch here in Troy, and you can chat with their experts regarding 3D printing and advanced manufacturing. Virtually on June 22nd, we have our release of the 2021 Technology and Industry Report. This year, we're going to be focusing on manufacturing resilience and innovation. So we're going to have a virtual speaker of authors and contributors to the report, as well as a welcome from Congresswoman Haley Stevens. And lastly, we will be having our annual Integrate Industry 4.0 conference on October 19th. That will be in person at TCF Center in Detroit. We will also live stream that. So there'll be an in-person ticket and a virtual ticket. If you're interested in attending, have questions, or interested in sponsoring, please reach out to me and I can definitely get you some more information. So now onto the tech takeover for this morning. For those of you unfamiliar with our presenting company, Andonix, they're currently working with our Industry 4.0 Accelerator, and they're a Detroit-based technology firm. Andonix has developed an Industry 4.0 suite of products for the modern manufacturing industry, focusing specifically on helping industrial manufacturing companies of all sizes elevate their frontline workers into the digital era. Andonix aims to help clients boost productivity for both workers and machinery, quality, safety, and training. They have a proven track record of driving value and a 10-time return on investment for clients, including factories operated by Stellantis, Philips Lighting, Borg Warner, and many other small and medium-sized organizations. Today, they're really going to be focusing on achieving the extraordinary by putting the worker at the center of the digital transformation. So don't forget, at the end of this presentation, we will be doing a Q&A. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A chat box. Throughout the presentation, please ask any questions. We will be doing that live at the end, so we'll answer any. And if we can't, we'll be sure to get that information to the right people. And as a thank you for joining us today for Andonix, they are rolling out an exclusive discount program for any Automation Alley member organization. So don't miss the opportunity. There'll be more information at the end of who to reach out to for those specifics. Joining us this morning is going to be Oliver Tice, CRO and co-founder of Andonix, David Yanis, CEO and founder of Andonix, and they have a special guest joining them, Alfonso Felix, who is the Director of Business Excellence at Borg Warner. Alfonso is a member of the Shingo Prize Institute, a program of the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University, which is also referred to by Business Week as the Nobel Prize for Manufacturing. Thank you for virtually being here for us, David, Oliver, and Alfonso, and sharing your expertise with us. I will now turn it over to Oliver to start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison and Automation Alley, for having us today. It's a true pleasure for being here. Today, we'll talk about two great products, Smart Workstation and Safely Pass. And we are Andonix, a Detroit-based technology firm that created an Industry 4.0 suite of products for the modern industry to help them create and standardize digital standard operating procedures that are primarily used by frontline workers. And frontline workers are going to be our theme today, which is called Achieving the Extraordinary by Putting the Frontline Worker at the Center of Your Digital Transformation. And we have an exciting agenda for you today, which is about the following. We'll have a brief video about Andonix and the technology and why having your frontline workforce at the center of your digital initiatives. And then we'll dive into the two products that we have to offer, the pain points that they solve, and what value they can drive for our clients. We'll then do a quick technology demo, and then we're super excited to have today a roundtable discussion joined by our guest, Alfonso Felix. He's the Business Excellence Director at Borg Warner Moore's North America. He's one of the great operators that we have met in our lifetime, and we hope you'll find this a great meeting. Thank you so much for having us.
When engagement levels are low, problems are left unresolved, crowd creativity is lost, and manufacturing hell happens. Sustained operational excellence can only exist in a framework of engagement between an employer and its people. Research has shown that high engagement levels within a company can lead to significant increases in productivity and profitability. At Andonix, our mission is to improve industrial frontline workers' lives and deliver huge business benefits. Connecting and engaging with your workforce is critical, but in labor-intensive companies, achieving the right engagement levels can be challenging. Organizations are like an iceberg, where executives can only see the very tip. Sydney Yoshida's study proves that frontline workers are aware of 100% of an organization's floor problems. Supervisors are aware of only 74%. Middle managers are aware of only 9%. And senior executives are aware of only 4% of the problems. Engagement can't be fostered overnight. However, ensuring that employees are fully connected with the head office is critical, especially with a large, widely dispersed frontline workforce. That's where Smart Workstation comes in. Our solution enables organizations to establish and maintain vital mobile digital connections with frontline staff. We help our clients leverage those connections to build engagement and create new value. An organization can provide anywhere, anytime mobile access to things like digital training programs, automated workflows, and connect the workforce to transfer knowledge and drive engagement, improve employee work lives, and deliver huge business benefits. Committing to smart, automated processes and communication can improve employee engagement and create new value for all stakeholders. High levels of engagement ultimately deliver substantial improvements in overall business ROI. Smart Workstation, as a mission-critical partner for businesses that want to stay connected with their workforce and digitize key procedures.
So now that we saw the video, let me take you on a quick history tour before we start off with our presentation. First up with the Ford Model T assembly line 100 years ago. Now let's fast forward 100 years and let's look at how Tesla started to assemble their Model 3. And you gotta wonder, did time stand still here? What happened with 100 years of manufacturing innovation? Now, we all know coming out of Detroit that there is tremendous technology in manufacturing. We have automation, we have robotics, we have 3D printing now. But when it comes to frontline workers, we are still working the same way. Paper-based systems continue to be the backbone for most companies on how we guide and manage our frontline workers and even how we capture data. And incredibly enough, there is a study from McKinsey that says that manufacturing is second from last of all industries to provide digital tools for their frontline workers. Now, one would say, well, how is that important? Does that even matter? Well, it does. It turns out that in a recent survey by MCAT Emergence Capital, 78% of the workforce now says that technology is an important factor for them to choose where they want to work. And it just turns out that we are having an endemic and systematic problem in attracting talent and new workers to the manufacturing sector. We have a skills and worker shortage gap that reaches beyond 1 million workers in this country. Now, there are other considerations as to why digitization is important. Anything from the basics of how do you communicate effectively and engage with somebody who doesn't have a corporate email account? How do you connect with workers, with experts when there's a problem? How do you onboard and train people faster when we already have a high challenge in attracting workers? And how do you ask for help and transfer tribal knowledge when people are more and more retiring from this industry? And over the years, we've talked a lot with companies who say, oh, we're already paperless. But it turns out that at the best case, they're using PDFs and Excel spreadsheets that capture information. And that is not a digital strategy. And we'll talk about more about this. But at the end of the day, what is wrong with not having a digital strategy? Where it turns out when it comes to productivity, training, quality, and safety, the US manufacturing sector, which is comprised by 600,000 manufacturing companies employing 8.5 million workers, are wasting annually $139 billion in annual profits. And today, this is about leaving money on the table. But tomorrow, not having a digital strategy is about survival. Now, a little bit more into the details. Where is all this cost coming from? Well, all of us who are in the automotive industry, we know this firsthand. Any quality issue can blow up and cost up to millions of dollars. And when we look at how many recalls we have, and including how many companies have gone out of business over this, I think we can all relate to this issue. Further, the cost of safety. It's incredible to see that over the year, there are almost 900,000 claims of safety incidents. And this is a real cost aside from potentially affecting hundreds of thousands of lives and costing companies insurance premiums that can be extremely high. Furthermore, we have the cost of training. As we all know, it takes up to sometimes 12 weeks to onboard and train a new operator. And this has real impact on the efficiency of lines, how fast they work, job rotation, and so on and so forth. And there's real money in it, as we probably all have experienced over the course of the years. And then lastly, the impact on our cost of assets. The machines that our factories have are the most important value driver for our organizations. And that's where the real money is. And to the extent that we can drive up overall equipment effectiveness by reducing unplanned stops, improving our cycle times, reducing defects, fast tracking our onboarding of our new workers, this is what drives up OEE. And this is where Andonix comes in with its essential connected worker platform, which, as we said, is comprised by two solutions. SafelyPass, which in essence is a frontline workforce engagement and digital workplace safety compliance solution that helps our clients work safely, keep their workforce engaged, and then they can layer in Smart Workstation, which helps to connect frontline workers with each other, with their supervisors, and with their managers to fast track problem solving when problems arise. And then the ability to create standard operating procedures that can be automated and augmented with adaptive content. This helps to scale, augment, and enhance workers' capabilities. And lastly, both solutions deliver real-time data so that companies can really achieve new levels of operating efficiencies, beat their numbers through digital performance management. Now, before we dive into the details of each solution, let's talk a little bit about plant operations information systems and what a robust system looks like. Nowadays, obviously, we need data to make good business intelligence decisions, but most companies rely on ERP systems solely for this data information. And some even connect or have started to connect their machines to the cloud. They have robust machine data acquisition systems. But what about the people? What are we doing about the critical information piece that our frontline workforce represents? This is where Smart Workstation comes in, which allows not just to connect the frontline workers, but connect them to the rest of the ecosystem so that you have a complete and robust information cycle. And lastly, you can connect them with SafelyPass so that you have real-time capability to engage with them and to provide a simple and safe work environment. Now let's talk about each solution in detail. Smart Workstation provides the ability to create standard operating procedures with adaptive content. Basically, think of a YouTube feed combined with a Facebook feed and a Google lookup, where you can create any kind of content that is enhanced with multimedia, drawings, pictures, etc. You can build any kind of digital checklist through the platform builder, and it has a digital add-on cord. As we all know, Andonix stands for empowering the frontline worker to raise an alert whenever there's an issue. And this is what Smart Workstation enables. Any worker can raise an alert. He or she gets connected with the right decision maker in the company automatically so that you can fast track your problem solving. You have an in-platform chat. As we all know, communication is the bedrock of collaboration and improving outcomes and improving engagement. And a lot of companies nowadays, unfortunately, rely on WhatsApp and outside platforms, which do not contain critical information. And what Smart Workstation allows is to have that traceability in that communication flow. And lastly, and very important, you finally have real-time data analytics on everything that happens at the frontline level. Now, what are the key benefits of Smart Workstation? First up, we accelerate training of the frontline workers by 2x compared to traditional systems. We accelerate workflows compared to paper by 10x. You have a 50% reduction in quality incidents, a 60% acceleration in problem resolution. We boost your OE and productivity, and we help you predict outcomes, prescribe improvements, and prevent repeats. Now, let's talk about SafelyPass. SafelyPass, as we talked about, is a frontline employee engagement solution, which is enabled and facilitated through an Instagram-style functionality. Imagine now, with a click of a button, you can engage hundreds, if not thousands of workers instantly with video-rich messages that are usually reserved for social media. And then you can build any kind of surveys, safety and health declaration forms, and you can create digital passes and permits around any kind of OSHA regulated requirement, such as working in heights, in confined spaces, even regulating or improving your contractor access and your visitor access to the company. You have real-time monitoring and verification. And then lastly, you can upload PDFs that exist of any specific formats and actually edit them with a DocuSign style functionality. What are the benefits of SafelyPass? Well, it enhances compliance and minimizes the time invested by everyone in compliance aspects. It helps to reduce accidents through prompt verification. You can automate workspace access. You can avoid outbreaks and product contamination, empower your frontline workforce to be responsible for safety, and again, to prescribe protocols and prevent accidents and simplifying compliance. Now, what does a factory look like that is connected with these solutions? Well, for one, you have visual controls from anywhere through any device. You have operative discipline that is providing reinforcement to your frontline workforce through the digital apps. You have habit creation capabilities that fosters continuous improvement, and you have automatic problem escalation to your supervisors, managers, and leadership in a company. And you have real-time access to information with a click of a button at any time from any device. Our mission is to drive tremendous value for our clients. Our mission is to drive 10x ROI for everyone in our client base by helping them to stay open and be open, maintain their business continuity, accelerate their workflows by 10x, reduce their downtime by 50%, boosting their overall equipment effectiveness, and accelerate their training cycles. And let's talk about a few success stories. We work with FCA in their Toluca plant in their defective component, in their identification of defective products coming into the factory. This allowed them to eliminate paper checklists. They implemented real-time data collection and maintained full control of units wherever they were. PTI QCS, whom you will hear about later on in the discussion, they connected their frontline workforce with digital training tools. They enhanced job pairing and closed communication gaps and improved efficiency of work instructions to increase productivity. Fortech products, for example, they improved traceability on documentations and shipping in their shipping departments. They eliminated shipping errors and reduced risk to the company and introduced live updates to any of the key documents. And lastly, Delphi Technologies reduced their scrap, improved reaction time when they switched in their oxygen sensor line from paper-based tracking systems to a digital platform in Smart Workstation that allowed them to accelerate their process releases, to have traceability on all their controls. They were able to raise Andon alerts whenever there was an issue, and they had incredible traceability into problem finding through pinpointing on geolocation and evidence pictures. We've worked with a lot of our clients in the industry. We are not only in the automotive space, but also across other industries. Harvard did a business case on Andonix last year on the topic of innovation, and we're technology partner to Amazon Web Services, and Ernst & Young introduced Andonix into their Entrepreneurs Access Network. Our mission is to deliver technology that can be that is accessible at any cost, and our metric is it shouldn't exceed more than the cost of a daily cup of coffee. This helps our clients to achieve the fastest ROI in their Industry 4.0 transformation. And one way that we achieve this is by giving our clients access to the technology through the needs that they have in any given day. We do not force huge transformational challenges onto our clients, and you can access the technology basically from any device through an app or a web-based application. And now we'll go into a product demo. Thank you so much for having us.
And this is what Smart Workstation solves. This is a paper-based work instruction, the atomic level unit of every operating system in manufacturing. And people are supposed to learn and execute following work instructions step by step. Different shifts, could be different locations, separated by miles or even by borders, different countries. And the data, this is what the data ends up in paper. And you cannot leverage these. It's difficult to understand, and most importantly, you cannot do anything with it. So this is what the Smart Workstation work instruction looks like. Quality, safety first. So we're verifying your safety equipment, and then this is what the view for a train operator looks like. This is a work instruction for a quality inspection for a sunroof. But in this case, we're going to switch to a full training view. Let's assume I'm fully on train. So you will have a step-by-step guidance with like an Instagram type interface, lots of pictures, lots of instructions that will tell you what to do, how to do it, and obviously crowdsource that content. In this case, for example, there is a video on how to handle those sunroofs, and this was created by operators or inspectors. They're the experts. They're the ones doing the job every single time, thousands of repetitions, so they know how to solve problems. In this case, you can see, for example, an operator that it's finding a way to test sunroofs operation, and that's good enough. You have minutes before you shut down the plant. And what happens next is you get to record data. In this case, you can use your phone camera as a scanner, and you are basically sending a barcode information on what you're inspecting, the amount of pieces inspected, how many of those loose screws that you found, and so that's, you can see the evidence of the finding, and then the signature for accountability, something that people like, so they know that their name is into the solution or the record. And then we move into an Andon court. The operator is going to ask for help because you have a lot of quality issues. And this is what we call the on-start type functionality. Imagine 1,000 square feet, people in different plants, and you need to communicate in real time. So what Andon Court does, it automates escalation, communication, connects people to each other. We have an automatic chatbot that is basically guiding the operator with very specific questions based on the pre-configurable button. You can add as many as you want to automate different sequences. You can invite other stakeholders. If there is a timer that if you don't answer, it will start finding other stakeholders. You can also invite people manually. And we're going to switch now to the admin view, which is a web interface. And assuming I'm working something else, I get the notification. I click on it, I go into my Andon Court report to see what's going on. Let's assume I'm the quality manager at an assembly plant, and now I see that there is a quality issue. There are a couple of other issues, health and safety, that are on hold. I see that there's someone that is having quality issues. It's a recent, only 4 minutes have elapsed in cases of facilities. Sometimes that's all you have before you shut down the line. And then you can audit what's going on, see if people are getting the tools they need to do their job, if they're getting the help they need, if they have the answer, if the problem is resolved. That's a nice way to jump in quickly, even if you're far, far away from the problem, or if the person cannot find someone close by. So in this case, we're going to close it. Let's assume everything went perfect. It's beautiful. And what happens next is you can see that the event has disappear. But the cool thing about this is not just the just-in-time reaction, is what you do with the data. In this case, this is what customers do with their data. This is what people are given to do their jobs, not actionable. In this case, you have this type of reports and dashboards that could be delivered automatically to managers' inboxes. And then people can see on their devices. You can put them on the screens on the floor. And you can have very accurate information on problems, so you can prioritize, find permanent corrective actions, eliminate downtime. Lots of money on downtime, lots of money on downtime. That's basically a pay line for manufacturing companies or any labor-intensive companies. Yield is basically the name of the game. So having the data like this, not waiting for days before that makes that from a cardboard to a digital dashboard, is invaluable. In this case, one of the favorites, the training report to pair people to the best job, to follow up what they have been doing. This is automatic. Just by people using the smart workstation, we gather data, and we know what they're doing, and we know what they're best. And then this is another example for quality. Quality is another big cost, just like training, and knowing what the issues are on real time can help you manage cost, impact to delivery, and obviously expensive recalls. So thank you so much. This is Smart Workstation.
Hi, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being and for staying with us throughout this journey. And now I am joined by two great individuals. First up, Alfonso Felix, welcome. He's the current Director of Business Excellence for BorgWarner Moore's North America. Alfonso, welcome. Alfonso has worked for the automotive industry for more than 23 years, working for main tier one suppliers such as American Axle, Nemak, Delphi Technologies, and BorgWarner. Alfonso has performed several functional and operational roles, going from information technology, production control, manager and logistics, operations, plant manager, and vice president operations. Thank you, Alfonso, again for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
And David is the founder and CEO of Andonix. He is also a co-founder and board member of PTI QCS, an upstream automotive company that specializes in engineered powertrain coatings, quality and supply chain solutions, providing technologies, products, and services to premier automakers and their supply chain. In David's role, the company has been recognized by Michael Porter's ICIC and Fortune magazine as one of the 100 fastest growing inner city companies in America for 5 years. David, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you for the privilege of your time. Thank you so much.
So one thing that we wanted to do here today was pursue an open discussion about a few interesting topics all around, obviously, what brought us here today, which is achieving the extraordinary by putting the worker at the center of digital transformation. So to begin with, Alfonso, let me start with you. You've had obviously a tremendously successful career in operations and quality management, with your last role as VP of Global Operations at Delphi Technologies and with BorgWarner Moore's as Business Excellence Director. You also serve as the Shingo Price Institute at the Shingo Price Institute, an organization whose mission it is to help companies achieve new levels of lean, optimize processes, lower costs, and add value to their products. As such, you've also helped small and medium-sized organizations achieve new levels of success. How do you view the concept of digital transformation? Is it an option at this point in time?
Again, thank you for the introduction, Oliver, and thank you for invited me and having me here. I think based on what you are saying, I don't see this as an option. You know, I see this kind of as a tool that is somehow mandatory in order to get to a better levels. You know, you were talking about lean, you were talking about the principles that we need to follow in the organizations in order to become better. And what I have seen, these kind of applications, these kind of tools are ones that are helping us to continue with this, our mission in continuous improvement and business excellence, which is the waste identification, and do it in a systematic way that can help us again to define the main activities that we will need to do in order to get better. For me, these tools are the foundation. These kind of applications are the foundation in order to achieve, I will say, the highest and the ultimate target, which is the real-time improvement. If we have, and if we use, and if we know how to use these applications, are going to provide us with real-time information that are going to give us the opportunity again to do real-time improvement. And again, going back to lean and the principles, one of the main, I will say, challenges that we have in the organization right now is to be able to create the habits, you know, the discipline in the people, and not only I mean, their commitment to try to be better and to commitment to try to get better, but also the habit, you know. And I have found these applications and these tools, such as Andonix, as a very good resource in order to go in that direction. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, the old alarm clock, you know, that we used to have to wake up very early in the morning, you know. We needed that tool in order to get up exactly at the time that we needed. And once that you were using the tool, suddenly you were waking up 2 or 3 minutes before the alarm, you know. And for me, these kind of tools in the industry are doing the same, you know, are helping us to get that habit, and by getting those habits to get better.
Great. Thank you, Alfonso. And David, let me switch to you. So we talked about your journey as co-founder of PTI QCS, which now has grown to 2,000 employees. You have firsthand experience in what it means to implement new technology in an organization of that size. Now, according to McKinsey, enterprise software implementations on average exceed their planned times and budgets. Why do you think this is so common?
Well, thank you, Oliver, for that question. I think there's many reasons, and we could look at different dimensions, culture, buying process, also the understanding of the value that you're going to get. I think there are many factors, also generational gaps as well. When you're trying to implement a top-down approach, and you're basically having an alignment in buying process where these solutions, talk about ERPs, talk about other type of technology that is being sold to the industry, is actually being sold to the C-suite. I think from that point of view, and when you add the complexity of the organization, the multicultural approach, the multi-generational approach creates a lot of challenges. What I think has worked well is adopting some practices that are actually rooted in the automotive industry. The manufacturing industry has some of the best schools on how to implement lean processes, how to implement lean projects. And actually the technology world took those processes and called them Scrum, called them Agile, which is basically driving waste out of implementation. So when you understand that the atomic level unit of an implementation starts with people, when you start at the bottom and you start with a fair process and make the people the center of that implementation, when you bring those early adopters, those promoters, and you make them owners of these initiatives, you can have a very fast agile circle of experimentation, piloting, and building incremental value in different cycles and fast agile cycles. I think that is the main reason. when you shift your focus to people, that organization they're responsible to execute, they will drive technology adoption way faster than the C-suite trying to go up, down, and then up and down, and then up and down, right? So that is my observation through many decades of technology implementation.
Thank you, David. And you talked about, and you touched on the point of people, and that's a great segue where Toyota is credited with a famous phrase, when everyone works together and each person can see their contribution to the whole, the system benefits. Alfonso, how does this principle from Toyota tie to lean principles? And why do you think this is relevant in the context of Industry 4.0?
Going back to, as you were saying, and you're bringing to the table a very good question, going back to the principles, one of the main principles in the lean culture is respect for people. Then we need to do whatever it takes in order to support our people and have them doing as much as we can, job that really adds value to the operations. Unfortunately, some of the times we don't design our processes and our system processes and manufacturing process for that. But if we think about the principles from the lean culture, people needs to be in the middle of everything that we do. Then we also need to understand that the people is competitive for by nature. Everyone wants to win, one way or another. For an operator, win means to achieve the production daily, needs to achieve the daily rates, the hourly rates, needs to do the things in the right way. And something that we forget, and something that I insist, not only with him now in BorgWarner, in the past in Delphi, and every position that I had been, is that we should be thinking in our people as our main differentiator. I had been in a lot of companies where in order to be honest, we don't have, a clear differentiator from our competitors in terms of technology, in terms of processes, in terms of designs, in terms of whatever, sometimes I tell to my people, hey, if someone has enough money and they want to put a plant in front of us, they're going to be able to buy the same machinery, the same equipment, they're going to go after our customers. Then what is going to be the main difference? And good thing is that people always say us is going to be the difference. And that's why, again, we need to realize that, we need to be conscious about that, and then we need to explode that strength and bring the people to a different level. The people is not just working because the economical reasons. Of course, everyone needs money, but also the people is working because they need to feel useful. They need to feel part of something that is having success, something that is doing good things. And then if we combine all these things with the right tools, with the right leadership, the right approach, there is a very important principle in continuous improvement that says that good behaviors drive excellent results. Then if we are able to drive these good behaviors, for sure the good results are going to be there. That's why I think, again, that the people should be our main focus and go from there,
That's great. Thank you, Alfonso. Very, very insightful. And yet a lot of digital and Industry 4.0 initiatives seem to be conceived to be focusing solely on the machine aspect, right? Industrial Internet of Things, more automation, 3D printing. Not to say that that's not necessary, but that seems to be the starting point for everybody. And yet we ignore our frontline workers, we ignore the people. David, what do you think, if we build on what Alfonso said, what happens when this is your starting point, if that is what you think Industry 4.0 is all about, and that's where you're starting?
Yeah, this is a great point, Oliver. I think Industry 4.0 is a big ecosystem. Yes, connecting people and connecting the factory requires connecting machines, but connecting machines is difficult and in some cases disruptive because you have different generational equipment. You have PLCs that are not even Ethernet capable. You have different vendors, technologies that are from Germany, from Japan. So you really have a lot of complexity, and obviously that takes a long time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, and sometimes you need downtime that, you know, in a heavy paced manufacturing environment is not easy to do. Of course, there is a lot of value connecting the machines, but why do we connect machines ultimately? Yes, automation is one thing, but the second part is you want to have data on real time turn into information. And that information is only valuable if it goes to the right person at the right time when it's needed. I think that the other aspect of these, and when we talk about people, a connected worker platform brings people together. It connects people to their work, it connects people to their workplace, it connects people to their organization. So connecting people basically can leverage the collective wisdom. You can also access the tribal knowledge. This is the hidden factory, how things are done, not to bypass the standard operating procedures, but this is where the experience is. And Toyota said that the biggest, largest waste was the creativity of people that is not being leveraged. So when you access and tap that creativity, that knowledge, that power, you are basically enhancing, upskilling, and augmenting your organization. So the value creation and the return of investment, when you connect people first, it's staggering because it can drive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% profit margins, because 1% of productivity, 1% of scrap reduction, 1% of downtime is almost equal to 1% of profit margins. So when you start with people first, it's easier, it's faster, it's cheaper, and then it returns true money to the bottom line that will help you fund the expedition. Not to say that connecting machines is not important, but once you get there, you already have a connected workforce that can leverage those sensors and those digital twins. So that is the whole concept of having a starting point and mapping a journey that will actually help you fund the expedition to continue your implementation. And it's a never-ending journey. There is always going to be some level of improvement in digitization and different innovations in cloud manufacturing.
Thank you, David. That's very interesting. And you touched on the topic of hidden factory and the value that can be unlocked if you involve frontline workers into the process. And Alfonso, if I'm not mistaken, when you were at Delphi Technologies, in one of your plants, there was a particular challenge that you decided to involve your workforce in and to connect them to each other and to bring in technology to help them solve a problem. Can you talk a little about that problem that Delphi was facing at its time, and how did you look at making your frontline workforce part of the solution? How did you guys come about and do it?
Okay, first of all, I guess going back to Dave's answer, David, I think that he touched in a very important things, I mean, and that's something that me personally discussed a lot of times in our industry, in terms of all the investment that we do, sometimes in facilities, in machinery, in other things, but we forget about how to invest in people. And we need to be clear, I am not meaning investing in people, just give them better salary, that for sure if they deserve that and the operation deserve that, why not? But I am talking about investing in their growth, in the professional growth. And this brings me to the collaboration. And I think that was one of the main issues that we had in our former Delphi plants, now for Warner, when we started this project. Lack of collaboration, people doing the job in a very separate way, working as a silos, not being able to share the information. And we were having quality issues in one very important process that, by the way, has a very long lead time process. Then for us, making mistakes and being aware about those mistakes afterwards was very painful in terms of not only money and the scrap that we were producing, but also lack of components to serve our customers, which is the main objective of any organizations like ours to serve our end customers. And then we were in an environment where people was kind of tired, you know, that filling formats that they felt like those were not good for anything. They felt like people was not paying attention to the information. And I am talking about the operators in the floor, you know, the real people that was transforming our products. Mm-hmm. And then in the other side, we have our supervisors and our leaders feeling like the people in the floor was not paying enough attention, you know, and there is always this tension, you know, between, hey, this is what I told you to do, and then versus, hey, this is what I am able to do, this is what I understand that I need to do, this is what I understand that is adding value. And then for me, that was the problematic that we wanted to solve, you know. We wanted to bring more collaboration between our people, you know, feel like we were part of the same process, the same objective, the same commitment, trying to use the same tools. And for us, you know, using this kind of application, bringing this application specifically from Andonix was an intent to achieve this objective that I am talking about.
Interesting. Thank you. That's very insightful. And so we talked about really the frontline worker as a center of that initiative. And in that context, we mentioned the term connected worker platform. David, for some of our audience who might not be aware of or might not be as familiar with that term, what is a connected worker platform, and what role does it play in helping companies tackle the challenges of today and tomorrow?
Yeah, this is a great question, Oliver. I think this is a recently coined term in the Industry 4.0 ecosystem, and obviously it's an emerging foundational technology that helps connect the factory, the machine, to people. But if we were having a beer and you don't know nothing about manufacturing, I would tell you that a connected worker platform is like GPS to a worker, like GPS is to a driver using Google Maps. It's really a compass that will help you guide your work and help you collaborate. So it's also a new generation technology from the point of view that is worker-centric, meaning that it can be learned, taught in minutes. It's like a social media interface. So the foundations of any operating system at the floor level, you're talking about communication, you're talking about coordination, you're talking about follow-up. So you can do that with an interface, an in-app communication interface like WhatsApp. But obviously, you want to do it in privacy with security, and you want to own that data, right? But people are used to do that, and they use it to communicate, coordinate, follow up. They also use it to escalate exceptions. That's another factor in any factory. What happens when things go wrong? Murphy. And so people will be able to use that communication to escalate it and automate to find help and remote support. And I think the other component, when you look at the atomic level unit of an operating system, you're talking about the standard operating procedure, which is a paper-based document that tells people what to do, when to do it, to teach, direct, and develop. Well, think about Instagram, think about YouTube. People use information, consume information that way today. So instead of reading a paper, imagine a video telling them step by step what to do, how to do it. Imagine the ability to post pictures about their concerns, their questions, their exceptions, like Instagram. And then every time you have this interaction, you're recording that data. That turns into a Wikipedia knowledge base that is being built from the bottom up. So in essence, a connected worker platform is a worker-centric social media-like interface that connects people so they can capture knowledge, they can transfer it to others, teach them and guide them step by step. And if they get in trouble, they can ask for help so they can escalate automatically. Like think like an OnStar for a worker. And then once you are there, imagine that you can connect sensors, you can connect PLCs, you can connect digital twins. So those sensors can alert the worker when the process is out of control and send them a message. And it actually suggests the workflow that they need to do and actually escalate and automate it in real time to all the key stakeholders. So that is in essence what I will tell you if you and I were in a bar and you were industry agnostic. Hopefully that helped as a good explanation.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I love it. And Alfonso, if I may put it back to you. So David described in his words what a connected worker platform is. The automotive industry comes maybe from a term that is known as the manufacturing execution system, or an MES. Would you say, if you contrast an MES in the traditional sense to a connected worker platform, are there limitations to MES systems, or how would you contrast the two concepts to each other?
You're right. You know, I mean, the automotive industry, the MES, I mean, has been, as far as I understand, forever. You know, I mean, in terms of all the times the automotive industry has been using the latest technology available in order to support the manufacturing processes. I mean, at least I started back in 1998 in the automotive industry, and we used to have systems and we used to have information that we used to display in the floor that was called at that time already MES, you know. But I was very limited, as you were saying, you know. And for what I have seen, the MES, it has been a good complement for the floor. In most of the cases, at least initially, in most of the cases, very related to production counts, you know, basically. And also, going back to a little bit what David was saying before, connecting PLCs with machines, with computers, but not connecting people, you know, and not connecting systems, which is basically what is going to make you better, because at the end of the day, you might be, again, connecting equipment and machinery and devices, but if the people doesn't feel connected to those as a system, and if they are not working for the people needs, then that is not going to be good for anything. In fact, I remember again back in the end of 2000, at the beginning of 2000, from 2000 even to 2008, 6 or whatever, a lot of information was created or produced in the floor. A lot of data, I will say, a lot of data, but not, we didn't have the ability to turn that data into information that was going to be helpful. For me, this kind of application even comes and complement and close a gap that existed in the MES applications again. And that gap was related to being more flexible, getting more data that our processes are producing every cycle, every hour. And that is information and that is data again that you need to turn into information in order to become more productive, in order to be able to make quicker decisions. Then for me, again, these kind of applications are covering a limitation that exists in the MES, closing a gap that is very helpful for a lot of other things that we need to know in real time in the floor, you know. We know that also David was talking before, again, our ERP applications, our maintenance applications, finance applications, HR applications, and also being able to collect SCADA or the SCADA concept exists also forever, bringing information from the PLCs. But for me, there was this gap in the middle, this gap of a lot of information, a lot of data, that if you use the data, if you combine the data in the right way, and you convert the data into information, I mean, the productivity and the gains that you see are much more bigger in some cases than the ones that you are seeing with a traditional ERP or traditional even MES concept, you know.
Interesting. Thank you. That's very insightful. Thanks for that explanation. If I may, I'd like to shift gears a little bit to something that I think occupies a lot of companies nowadays, which is the huge worker and skills gap that we're experimenting right now in the US and other parts of the world. There's approximately up to 2 million jobs in the US that go unfulfilled. McKinsey released a study showing that manufacturing is second from last of all industrial verticals to provide digital solutions for our frontline workers. And then last year, there was a study from Emergence Capital that showed three interesting statistics. One was that 70% of deskless workers surveyed report that more technology will help them to do their jobs better. 60% of workers said they are unsatisfied with or believe that there is room for improvement in the technology that they're provided at work. Many feel that their companies don't appreciate how much better technology would help them in their daily work. And 78% of workers said that technology is a factor when choosing a job. I guess maybe I'm biased, but there seems to be an obvious correlation here between the skills shortage gap, the worker shortage, and all these telling statistics. Could I ask you maybe both or each of you to weigh in on this issue? What is your opinion about this finding, and is there a correlation?
I can go first, Oliver. That's a very good question. I think, to make it short and sweet, I think that, of course, there is a correlation among factors, because when you look at the cycle of replenishment of workers, you have experienced workers on the exit cycle, and then you are trying to capture younger workers to replenish that, right? There is a pipeline of generational nurturing, and I think the challenge in here is that for every entry person in manufacturing, you have 4 exits, and so that is the mathematical problem, right? But the question is, why do you have those entries but being so low? Well, manufacturing is not very sexy when you have these young generational, workers by nature that have so many choices that are more appealing. And especially when they walk into a manufacturing floor, it's a big, scary place. You're disconnected from the organization, right? So you have to learn a lot of different things. You need mentoring, you need training, you do on-the-job training. You don't have job preview to see what it is. So that is a scary place when you are not looking at how these people think about their jobs. When they look at paper-based systems and say, wait a second, in 2007, the iPhone was invented. Why do you want me to still read these? Why do you still want me to fill this checklist when all these can be augmented, right? So technology definitely is one of the enablers for younger generations, right? When you can augment them, and if you make their life easier, and you can also make them more productive, so they can produce more and have better fulfillment and work less, augment them with data, with insights, like Alfonso says, predict outcomes and say, hey, you should follow this process, you should follow this work instruction. This is how you get help, just by having that access on the palm of your hands, right? So I think that is the correlation. I could keep going, but ultimately it's about making their life easier and also meeting them at the middle ground, right? Where you can also help them be more comfortable with, they grew with the technology, and that's something we need to recognize.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. What do you think, Alfonso?
Sorry, I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive for what David was saying, but I fully agree. I mean, when we are bringing in the past, the experience, you used to have workers that had 20 years in the organization, 25 years in the organization. Then this, what is now this knowledge, the tribal knowledge that they develop, it was what was taking us of a big problems, or try to stabilize as much as we can our daily results and production. Now that is gone. I don't think that the people is planning to last 20 years in the same position or even in the same company. I mean, our young people, the new generation that is coming, that in the past or in the few years ago used to be called millennials. I don't know how they are calling them right now, but these guys, they were born with a phone in their hands. You know, they know that the technology is the only thing. I mean, it's like David was saying, you know, you give a paper to these guys, they're going to try to do something like this, you know, like expand, because they are used to do that. I mean, and they don't want to go in a different direction. Then basically I see our companies trying to use this kind of resources for two main challenges. You know, I mean, we may have a lot of other challenges, but one challenge is to keep the people interested in what they are doing, and you need to give them the tools that they need. And in the past, the tools used to be a checklist and used to be a pen or whatever. You know, now the tool, it should be something like this, you know, because as you were saying in your question and your comment, they don't have a desktop, but they are going to sit in front of a computer. They are in the floor, they are in the shipping area, they are in a lot of different places, and they need something, how to stay connected to the others and with the system. And second, we need to think what's next for them. You know, these people, they don't want again to stay 5 years in the same position. They want to evolve. They want to do something different. Then you need to have the ability to teach them, to be able to teach them all the times. Now they want to teach them to do a job in purchasing. Tomorrow you need to teach them to do a job in shipping. Then 2 months later, you need to teach them to do a job in engineering or whatever. And then you need to be able to use these tools in order to continue teaching the people, in order again for them to feel like they are achieving their goals, and they are thinking a little bit more in medium and long term in your company, and they kind of stay with you, you know.
Interesting. Thank you. I appreciate both insights. This is very helpful. So maybe we can start wrap things up, but maybe one last question to you, David. Andonix, from that side, we have worked with some large organizations, but we have also empowered quite a bit of SMEs, small and medium-sized organizations, realize their digital transformation journeys. Can you share maybe with our audience, talk about the typical Andonix technology adoption journey for an SME company and the value they gain once they have taken first steps in their digital initiative?
Yeah, absolutely, Oliver. I think that is, you know, intentionally our main focus, because we recognize that, for example, in the US, our 600,000 manufacturing companies, 5% of those are what they're classified as enterprise or large. And then that means that 95% of the market is small and medium. And that is a staggering number when you look at 10 million non-supervisory workers working in manufacturing in the US alone, and 95% of that number is working for small and medium companies. That is the correlation there. So I think the key in here is that the journey has to be based on value creation, right? It's the return of investment, basically, which is a function of the time that is taken to get to value, the investment of the company, and the return or the value created. That factor right there, that formula will create multiple of return, but meaning for every dollar you invest in a solution, you should get not less than $10 value. If you're not getting that, something doesn't work. And for smaller companies in manufacturing, even for large companies working on a single digit profitability, 1% is a lot of profitability. So with that in mind, finding the fastest path incentivized by that fast ROI has been the way we position to small and medium companies. It's the same path for enterprise, because that's where we talk about cycles and sprints and iteration of getting to value quickly and iterate and add more use cases. Ultimately, I think that the key in here is that, you know, when you talk to small and medium companies, they're not looking for a connected worker platform. An enterprise company knows what it is, they're looking for it, and they have RFPs fully devised to do that. But when you go to small and medium, they're looking for solutions. They want to improve their productivity. They want to improve their efficiency. They want to reduce their downtime. They want to reduce their scrap. They want to leverage their people. So when you connect to them at that level, and you remove all these scary terms in between, and you simplify technology, and you simplify the delivery of value, remove friction, that's when you incentivize that, right? Because when you get to the value proposition, like, this looks like a good solution, and I can find out in a week without throwing the bank away, why don't we try it? And when you get that verification, they say, you know what, this is what we needed. You don't have to wait a year to figure that out. I was on the other side of the purchasing table when I was, running our large, manufacturing upstream supply chain company. I was running away from people that were telling me, like, hey, we got this beautiful system. This is the solution to all your nightmares. But you will find out a year from now if it works. And after $1 million later, I was like, there is no way I'm going to sign that dotted line. So anyways, that is what the adoption looks like. It's fast, easy, seamless. We drive all the friction, and we empower them to validate that value and make sure that they can get that 10x immediately. Otherwise, innovation just for the sake of innovation, it's not worth it. It has to give you value. As simple as that.
This is great. Thank you, David. I think we have reached the end of our time. I would like to thank both of you, and especially you, Alfonso, for joining us today. This has been tremendously insightful. I hope for our audience too. We appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you to you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alfonso, Oliver. Thank you to all the audience for the privilege of their time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Perfect. So now we're going to jump into the Q&A. There was one question that was asked during the presentation, so I'm just going to read it in case anybody missed it, and then if you want to answer that, Oliver. So during the presentation, the question was asked, how do you design or redesign the manual working practices of people in the organization, supporting them then with the automation tools that you provide?
Yes, thanks, Allison. I think that's a really great question. So really, it's all about how do you, what we do is we empower our clients to really do several things. One is to create standardization around their daily protocols, their daily operations. So the atomic unit, like was mentioned in the presentation, for most companies in the automotive industry is the standard operating procedure or the work instruction. So Smart Workstation allows to create those standard operating procedures in a very quick and simple fashion, because you really don't have to write all that much to standardize something. You can create a video, you can shoot a testimonial, you can film somebody doing a certain work sequence, you can capture pictures, and you can quickly build that content into the system, which can then be accessed by any frontline worker to really consult how is that being done. Furthermore, Smart Workstation allows the creation of any kind of checklists for any kind of use case, which really serves as that capturing of standardized of data, that is relevant for really building out information throughout the organization to have better decision-making capabilities. So really, that's how the solution works, among other things. It also connects the frontline worker with each other and the rest of the organization, with supervisors and managers, through what we call a digital Andon cord. And the digital Andon cord, for those who might not know the term, it's Toyota speak for empowering the frontline worker to raise an alert whenever there is an issue. And so this helps, for example, if a worker encounters an issue or a problem or a scrap or a machine is down, the worker can press a button, the system automatically alerts the right person in the organization to that there is an issue and that this needs to be fixed. And it scales up throughout the organization in an automatic way so that people know that the focus is on that problem and we need to fix it quickly. And the important thing here is to have real-time traceability on everything that's going on, so that People know that the focus is on them. There is data there. There are smart dashboards that alert management about any issues. And this rounds up the circle.
Perfect. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I have a few questions. So going back to the beginning, what would you say are the basics or essentials a company would need to adapt to your technology?
It's super simple. Honestly, the one of the benefits for Smart Workstation is that it is accessible from any connected device. So whether you have a smartphone, tablets, laptops, desktops, basically your existing computer infrastructure is going to be sufficient to access that technology. And really, from there on, all you need is access to Wi-Fi throughout your factory.
Right, which everybody has these days.
Yeah, correct. And so that also minimizes the upfront investment because no company really needs to build up an infrastructure that they don't really have already.
Right. What does a typical adoption journey look like then from a technology? So say you adopted it, what is that?
Perfect. Yes, great question. So one thing that we empower all our clients is to test out the solution for free. You shouldn't make a decision without validating if this is right for you and that you have the right use cases to deploy this technology. So we offer a 30-day free trial. And as part of that free trial, we deliver a turnkey digitization of any use case that the client wants to test out. In other words, the client gives us, look, I have these checklists. I want to verify these data capturing. I want to deploy this Andon system. We help them get that up and running so that from day one, they're actually using the system. They don't waste time in learning the system, how to use it, how to deploy it. They're just using it from day one. In 30 days, we guarantee they have the right information to make a decision that validates, yes, this is worth further investment and time from our end, or we better focus on something else. And if a client decides that they do want to continue using the system, at that point, they were using Smart Workstation. And so it's just a continuation of that. And then to build it out to other use cases and throughout the organization. And that's where we continue to assist in a turnkey style way, where we help them digitize further content and we help them with training, because ultimately what we hope is to make our clients self-sufficient in the technology so that they can replicate it, propagate it, and become extremely successful.
So you mentioned use cases. What, in your opinion, are the most common use cases for which this is deployed?
Yes, great question. So from an early starting point of view, where most of our clients start is with some kind of data capturing that currently exists on some sort of paper-based checklist. Call it incoming inspection of products, of goods. You have a GP12 station, which basically is terminology for end-of-line inspection during a safe launch initiative. You have process data that is captured on some checklist or lives on the whiteboard next to an assembly line or some machine to track production updates and downtime cycles. All that is very quickly digitized in Smart Workstation. So you build out, which you start with checklist and information where the data is not available in real time. Then most of our clients start connecting the workers to each other and to their supervisors and managers through the Andon system, which is basically, it functions almost like WhatsApp or Messenger. It's really that quick to build out. And then lastly, once you have achieved those very early success stories, you can start building out your standardization, your standard operating procedures, your work instructions in Smart Workstation that then helps you with training, onboarding. It helps you with verifying a worker's capability, their skill sets, which then helps you with improved job pairing of workers. Let's say you have rotation or you're moving one worker to a different area in the factory. The solution empowers our clients to verify which worker has the best skill set for that specific job, and it delivers that information to the supervisors in real time so they can make that best informed decision on a day-by-day basis, where sometimes you have absenteeism, you have rotation, you have temp workers, and so on and so forth.
Perfect. And that makes complete sense. And one of the things you mentioned earlier was how your technology has a quick ROI. And I think that's a perfect example of showing which employees have the best skills to make sure you use them most efficiently. Is there any other ways that you think the technology has a quick ROI that we haven't mentioned so far?
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned a great point. Other use cases that deliver a tremendous ROI is ultimately when you can reduce the downtime of your machines. As we know, most of the automotive industry, and as the late Sergio Marchioni mentioned, we are asset heavy. We're a capital intensive industry, and to have your most valuable assets not working at the optimized level, at the highest level of performance, that is where the money is. So the Andon core functionality in Smart Workstation, whether the system is connected with your machine or not, it helps you manage or make sure that any kind of disruption of that machine, whether it's an unplanned stop, it's a reduced cycle time, it's some kind of maintenance event, you have an ability to fast track that problem resolution, so you bring that machine up and running again. And ultimately, if you're fast tracking worker onboarding, training, then they're going to be able to run that machine faster. I mean, we have client examples that have up to 12 weeks of worker training, and during that training process, sometimes those machines are running at 30% capacity, 40%, 50%, just because they're training that worker in how to use that machinery, or that whole line is working at reduced capacity because it's just tied to a very lengthy training cycle. So by compressing that training cycle, by compressing or eliminating those downtimes, you bring up machine performance, you help bring up quality levels so that your output is maximized, and that ultimately impacts machine OEE, overall equipment effectiveness.
Perfect. Well, that was all the questions I had. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, as well as we have Oliver's information, so you can send through email them to myself or Oliver. But thank you so much, Oliver, and then David and Alfonso as well, for joining us today and sharing with us. Just a reminder to everybody, this was recorded and it will be on our website, so feel free to share it and re-watch it. And because you joined us today, there is, like I said, a discount for Andonix technology for Automation Alley members. So make sure you email Oliver and he can give you some more information. If you go back to the beginning of this presentation, his email is on that first slide. So be sure to do that. And tune in to our next Tech Takeover. It's going to be July 28th with Marked Forged on moving beyond cost and lead time with additive manufacturing. So thank you, everybody, for sharing your Wednesday morning with us. Thank you so much, Oliver. It was great to hear from you, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Allison. Thank